Hey, Ice. Just plugging in the mic. CP, how you doing? Just waiting for my screen to refresh, which it's not doing it. There we go. We're on. How's everybody doing? Who we got on here so far? We have Good Evening Chad. We have Ice. I don't think we've met before. Welcome to the channel. Curmudgeon Piper and Chad Yardism. I'm currently smoking some Tilbury in the Chacom tree. I'm just literally was in the middle of watching your video, and I'm up to the point where you showed the angular ROP. John Walker, how you doing? Thanks very much again. I hope you caught my yabo of your box. Ice, have I ever smoked Bengal slices? I have. It's a long time ago. I smoked it right when I started smoking a pipe. I was lucky enough to get a tin from somebody. I don't think I smoked through the whole tin. I think at the time, I don't know what I'll think of it now, but I think at the time I found it to be very, very smoky. A little bit too campfirey, a little bit too sort of ashy for me. Hi Jimmy. I'm not smoking the 1820 at the moment, but I probably will after this. I'm almost done with this bowl, and I've got myself a milky coffee queued up, ready to have and enjoy with the 1820 flake. John T. Piper, long time no see. How you doing? Northwoods, nice. Haven't been smoking Northwoods for a while now. Hi Chris, how you doing? I'm curious to see what other people think of that 1820 flake. Have I had any Ian Walker pipes? I've had loads of them. At the moment I've got a couple, but at one point I had a 7-day set of custom-made Ian Walker pipes, which he made specifically for me, but none of them were filtered. And as I moved over to filter, I sold them off. And the only two that I've got at the moment is this one, which is the Quebec, which I sent back to him to convert, which he did. So that's staying with me. And then the other one is this Calabash, which he made for me, and that's a 9mm. I do have one on order at the moment with him, based on a shape I saw. Hi Sam, based on a shape that I saw at the Nottingham Pipe Show. If you saw the video that I made, you'll see I toyed with that helix shaped one for quite a while. It's the one with the spiral shank. Hi Tim. And I absolutely love the quality of his pipes. I don't know any English pipe carver that makes bad pipes, I'll be honest with you. I don't know any carvers that make bad pipes as such. Hi Boris. But both Ian Walker and Mike Billington, all make superb quality pipes, very good smoking pipes. So I would certainly not hesitate in recommending their pipes. 1820 flake is made specifically for the UK market, as far as I know, and in the same way as Penzance is made specifically for the US market. And I think it was the outcry of the UK market that were really getting very frustrated with not being able to get anything like that. And Black Swan Tobacconist, hi Joe, they say that they've had some form of collaboration with Germain's to get this blend to market here in the UK. When I spoke to Robert Germain a while back, I asked him the very same question. We're probably talking about a year ago now, and I asked him why he doesn't make a UK version of it. And at the time, he simply said that he can't do a UK version because of the licensing arrangements that they had with Orango. Hi Jordan. But clearly they've overcome that and taken out some of the ingredients and have made this 1820 flake, which is, as I said in my first impressions, to my mind, it tastes exactly the same as Penzance, pretty much. I may well load up a bowl of it in a minute. Hi Old Hollywood Briar. It's a new blend from Germain's, which is it's 1820 flake. Yeah, GQ is sold out. It's off their menu now. I'm not sure about Black Swan. I don't know which other online sites had it. I don't know if my smoking shop has it or not. Yeah, that block of mortar I picked up from Eldritch Pipes at the Nottingham Pipe Show. And at some point I'm gonna have a go at carving a pipe. I'm probably gonna split it in half and probably gonna start first with this smaller, so this one will make maybe a small kind of pipe, just to get my hands sort of onto it and just to get used to the material, and then maybe tackle the bigger part of the block at a later date. Well, share and share alike, Chad. Plum pudding is better than Penzance. It's all a matter of your personal taste, isn't it? Certainly Penzance has got a huge amount of hype behind it. Penzance is a very nice tobacco. I certainly was, in my first year or two of pipe smoking, I joined the throng in pursuing Penzance. I was lucky enough to get some. In the beginning I had a fair amount of it actually, and I gave away, I think, more than I smoked. But in the last 18 months or so, I haven't been able to get any. I won a tin from Old Berg. I got a baggie of it from a friend here in the UK, and I got a tin from Danny Shaw, an old tin, and that's what I've got at the moment. But in terms of comparing it to plum pudding, or rather saying whether one's better than the other, that's an impossible thing to say. I think it's really a matter of taste. If you ask me the question slightly differently and say which one would be better as a daily smoke, as a go-to smoke, that one I might agree with you that plum pudding might be a better all-time smoke for two reasons. Number one, you can get it. It's an easy enough tobacco to buy, as opposed to Penzance, which is nigh on impossible. And Penzance is quite a rich smoke, and it may not be to everybody's taste on a daily basis. But plum pudding is readily available in the US, so you shouldn't have any problem with that, Sam. My cork has disappeared. I don't know where it is. I've got to get another one of these sticky corks. I haven't seen them anywhere here in the UK. So I used to buy them from Boswell's, but I haven't done an order from them for a while. Right, so that was a nice bowl of Tilbury. And this is the somebody asked me about this one. This is the hi Daniel, it was you, was it? This is an Ian Walker Northern Briars, and it comes with a jade green Cumberland stem, and this is a calabash shape pipe, and it smokes very well. It's got a huge bowl, and it probably doesn't get smoked as often as it should. I do find that because it's so close, it's such a steep bend, it's a full bent pipe, I do find that the smoke sometimes is a little bit close to me and it gets in my eyes sometimes. But other than that, it's a lovely pipe. So I'm going to get the 1820 out, the 1820 flake, which is the new flake from Germain's, which is, to me, identical to Penzance. Sorry about that. So these are the samples. That I got at the Nottingham Pipe Show. Black Swan desk. Ouch. Ooh. Just knocked my knee on my drawer. Very hot. Oh man, we're having a right day of it today, aren't we? Yeah, this is a block of mortar which I bought at the Nottingham Pipe Show. I'm hoping to get 2 pipes out of it, so I'm going to have to cut there anyway because of that. And we'll see how we go. It's will be my first time that I'm tackling a piece of mortar, and we'll see how we go. Apparently it's harder to sand than briar, but we'll see how we go. This was £15, which would be more, I think, to buy. I think that was show prices. You had a few blocks there, and I just chose this one. There you go, 15. Well, there you go, guys. If you're in the UK, Black Swan still has some 1820. It's not that one. There's a few of these that I want to just get through these in terms of doing first impressions. That was the point of the guy giving out the samples. They're all new blends, mostly from Hogarth, and so they want people's impressions. That's a bourbon blend, which I haven't tried. I haven't actually smoked that Peterson pipe, Daniel. It's not filtered, and I've kind of been humming and hawing as to, this is the 1820 flake. I've been humming and hawing whether to, because it's got such a long stem, a churchwarden stem, that maybe, if I take my cadence right down, that I'll be able to smoke it. But I think it would be a shame, because it would be a challenge for me to smoke. It would make more sense for me to maybe trade it, or sell it, or do something with it and get myself a filtered pipe with it, to be honest. Yeah, Sam, if you have a look at the video, if you watched it from beginning to end, you'll have seen that I won a pipe in the slow smoke competition, yes. Okay, so this is the 1820 flake. It's pretty well rubbed out now. I didn't rub it out, but I think it's just like Penzance, it's quite crumbly. So, I mean, that as well will give you an indication that it's similar to Penzance. It's a really nice sort of texture, as I said. Sorry about that. 1 second, please. I've got to just put the phone into aeroplane mode, flight mode rather. So I think I'm going to smoke it in my Boswell, which I converted myself recently. I converted this to 9mm. I've actually run out of filters. I've got a couple left. I was here in my office before I went away, and I managed to spill. I keep my filters in this empty tobacco tin, and I managed to spill a coffee. It went in, and as luck would have it, it literally soaked every single filter. That was probably about over half a box of filters, of 180 filters, all down the Swanee. So I'm working my way through the filters in my bag that I carry. So I have to get some in sharpish. Daniel, I don't know the answer to that. You'd think so, but I don't know, is the short answer. Filter coffee, exactly. I actually didn't think of that, coffee infused filters. I threw them all away. I probably should let this sit out a bit longer. So I've got maybe one smoke left out of this bag. I do have some of this on order with GQ Tobaccos, so hopefully I'll get that soon. And very nice grain on this one, this Boswell. I think I smoked mostly northwards in this pipe. But it's getting an upgrade, and we're going to have some of the 1820. Yes, they were all free. All the samples were free, and they were very kind, and you could take all or you could take some. I took a bit of all of the blends that they had. Why not? It's a good way to test out a blend, see if you like it. And that's the whole purpose of giving out samples, is to get more customers, get people to enjoy your blends and then buy them normally. And I would imagine that I wouldn't have bought them all, say 50 grams of them, to try them out. Even at a later date online, it's the aromatics is unlikely I would have bought those. Jimmy, in terms of the 9mm conversion, it depends on the pipe. So to make a new stem with a 9mm, I haven't yet done. So I've used them only with 9mm stems that I've bought, and then I can re-drill the shank where it's possible, which is what I did here. I re-drilled the shank to accept the 9mm. This is a stem that I already had, but the stems that I've been using for the pipes that I've made myself, they're pressed stems, and I buy them as 9mm stems from the supplier. And all I do is sand them, polish them, and shape them, bend them, which is what a lot of pipe makers do, the ones who really turn out big volume of pipes. Mike Billington, for instance, the vast majority of his pipes are all made with pressed stems. I'm not sure about Ian Walker, whether he makes I think he makes all of his stems, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure. So I haven't yet tackled making my own stem. I do have some acrylic blanks, which I bought when I went to Axminster when I bought the lathe. And I just bought them just to to have them, and then at some point I'm going to try and use them. But the more and more I sort of investigate it, the more and more it becomes clear that I need to get a small mini machining lathe, a metal lathe. Which this one here, this is black. This is a Stanwell which I got recently. It still has some tobacco in it from Friday. See that? Just spilled my coffee again. Thankfully not on filters. I'm all hands and fingers and toes today. Yeah, hi Josh. Jordan, yeah, I've certainly got that impression from a lot of the people that I've watched, that for a lot of people the stem takes longer than the pipe, in actual fact, to make, which is why I'm kind of pushing that off. Yeah, I know some people, for instance, which I find quite incredible, but obviously that's years and years of experience. Ian Walker, I was talking to him in that video that I did of the Nottingham Pipe Show, and he cuts his stems and his tenons using a turning tool, a chisel. I really have no idea how he does that. I mean, it's pretty awesome that he's able to do that from a blank. Yeah, Kenjiro, 100%. All of those, old storied carving houses, they've all got custom-made stuff. When I went to Mike Billington's recently, a lot of the tools he inherited from his uncle, I think it is. And these are machines which have been made for them, specifically for them. And if you look on the web, you can see that with Castello, you can see that with Radice. They've all got their own tools, which they sometimes you wonder how certain things are done so precisely and so beautifully, and it's because they've got machinery which is made specifically for that. Yeah, he did say he used a straight chisel, and I don't know how he does that. I mean, it's obviously skill, it's obviously experience. I tried turning a tenon once with my turning tool, with the parting tool, which is really sharp. Having said that, though, he uses a straight chisel, so all you got to do is hold it straight. I might try that actually, because the parting tool is obviously only 3 or 4 mil at the sharp end. Yeah, Mike's video was absolutely fantastic. Martin Harrison, you asked the question, do I think Dunhill pipes are worth the money? I'm not sure this is a perfect analogy, but you know, if you go and buy a Rolls Royce, is it worth the money? You know, there comes a point where certain things you're paying for the branding, for the make, for the fame of a particular brand, and obviously that does get built up through quality and consistency. I think Dunhill have had times when the consistency of the quality of the pipes were turning out were not always as good, and from what I've heard, they've kind of sorted that out, and the later versions of pipes are pretty good. But it's really a matter of your own particular preference, your financial standing, and you know, your lifestyle. If your lifestyle is to drive a Mustang or a Aston Martin, then a Dunhill pipe will not be too much of a luxury. Do they smoke well? Yes, they smoke well. You know, if you compared a Dunhill from today and compared it to a Dunhill from the 60s, you might say that the 60s ones are far superior in terms of the briar. Ultimately, it's all about the briar and the treating of that briar. And from what I've read online and heard people say, the older Dunhill pipes, like with most things, the older ones tend to be better. But would I go out and pay £600, £800, £1,000 for a Dunhill? Definitely not. The most I've paid for a Dunhill is around the £300 mark, and it's the only time I've ever bought a new Dunhill. The rest that I've had that have passed through my hands have all been estates. Josh, 35 bowls. Wow, I'm very happy. I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. As I told you, that was one which I found very hard to let go, because everything about that pipe just clicked. You know, it's got a really good balance to it. It clenches very well, and I'm really glad that it's gone to somebody who's making good use of it. That's praise indeed, Josh, and it certainly gives me impetus to get going back into my garage and make some more pipes. I don't have any decent briar left. All I've got is this block of mortar, which is going to be a new experience for me, and finances at the moment just don't allow me. I do have to order some briar, but I don't at the moment. I haven't got any. I've only got some really tiny blocks which I can't do much with. Good night, John T. Thanks very much. What is the best pipe I own? From what perspective? The one that I like the most, the way it looks, the way it smokes, best quality briar? I don't know. It's an impossible question, to be honest. The NIRP is not my best pipe. It's a beautiful pipe. It's a stunning pipe. I've actually had a couple of people asking me if I'll sell it recently, and I might well do that if I get the right offer. It is a gorgeous pipe. I mean, I hadn't intended selling it. It hasn't been in any of my sales, that's for sure. My best smoking pipe. I can't really answer that question, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But I can certainly name you a few. Just grab a couple and show you them. So in terms of, yeah, I've had a couple of Mario Grandes. I had one, a really big one, which I didn't smoke very much. I actually gave that one away. I gifted that to Art. So in terms of Latakia pipes, in terms of Latakia, for smoking Latakia, my favorite pipe is without a doubt this GBD, which is a Jubilee, GBD Jubilee. I bought this on eBay, an estate pipe. It's very nice. It's nothing spectacular. This is probably nickel. It's got some nice grain on it. It's a pot, and it smokes fantastically. It's one of those pipes which, as I've described before, that when you smoke it, it disappears. When you have it in your mouth, or when you're clenching it, when you're smoking it, it basically disappears. And for me, that's the sign of a good quality pipe. When smoking it becomes completely seamless. You put it to your lips and the smoke just sort of dances into your mouth. It's like it becomes just part of you. It becomes an extension of your mouth. For me, that's obviously, then there's questions of draw, of the flavor that the briar gives, and that kind of thing. But in terms of one of the markers that I have for a good pipe is where, when I smoke it, to me it feels as if it's invisible. And this was the first pipe that I experienced that with. So this is my favorite Latakia pipe. That one is actually quite an easy one to answer. I haven't got that many Latakia pipes anymore. The majority of my pipes used to be Latakia pipes, and since I went to 9mm, obviously the majority of my pipes are now Virginias and Vapors. So this is certainly my favorite Latakia pipe. In terms of Virginia pipes, one of them, which is a recent purchase, is this Savinelli Autograph. I never thought a Savinelli would be one of my favorites, and this at the moment is smoking beautifully. I use this for Virginias, like really deep, dark, fruity Virginias, and I absolutely adore the way they smoke in this pipe. For a neutral smoke, something where I want to really, often I'll do a first impressions, is this Quebec from Northern Briars. This one smokes, I find it smokes very neutrally, and I get it if I want to identify flavors and really get to get to grips with the blend. I'll often smoke it in that. And just this one is a Stanwell from 2002. This was a pipe of the year. This was actually bought new old stock from Danish Pipe Shop, and this one I'll smoke anything, Virginia's, Vapors, and it just smokes very, very well. So that's just a few of the pipes that I really like. Yeah, the GBDs are really good. I'm not sure when that one is from, to be honest. I have no idea. I don't know if the stamping on it is any indication. I can't even make out what it is. It says on it VM something or other. It says on it London made 526. So I hit my mic, sorry. Yeah, so it's a 526, and I think it was an original filtered pipe. So, and I didn't know that they originally did these. So I don't know if that's an indication of its age or not. But a lot of the people who have been smoking for a long time hold GBD pipes in really high regard. The voice is messed up now. Just a second. I'm just going to pull out the mic. Just going to plug the mic back in. Okay, I hope that's okay now, sound. Can you all hear me? Cool. That pipe, that Peterson pipe, is actually a very good pipe. I really hummed and hawed about whether to smoke that one or the Kerry that I bought specifically for that purpose. Where is that pipe? Here it is. So this one I bought on eBay, literally like 10 days before the slow smoke competition. I smoked quite a few bowls through it just to get familiar with it, and then the Kerry arrived, and I smoked a few bowls through that. And I used this in the competition in the end because it had been smoked a lot more, and it just made sense to me to smoke a well-used pipe rather than a new pipe. It surprised me because the drill on this one is actually really high, so the filter actually passes the drill in the shank, and I've had that before with a pipe and it was disastrous. But it could well be in this particular case that because of that it slowed down the smoke and it enabled me to go longer. That's very possible. Hi Scot-Free. And it worked out very well. It smokes very well, this pipe, I must say. I used it at the time, and for that particular smoke it was a Latakia smoke, but I haven't really smoked it so much since. I'm not sure actually if I'll keep it for Latakia or move it over to Virginia's. Maybe I'll keep it as a Latakia smoker. .62. Well, I've tried to find myself a 69 Dunhill over the past couple of years, but I haven't really pursued it, to be honest. And I've seen a few which weren't really much. Didn't really like them. But as I say, I'm not that desperate to get a Dunhill pipe. But if I did get one, I'd probably go for 1969, which is my birth year. It is Scot-Free. It is High Lutrasaurus. I picked it up at the Nottingham Pipe Show, and that's going to be something that I'll be tackling soon, hopefully. I'm probably going to have to cut this short. I can feel I've got an attack of vertigo coming on, which I haven't had for a long time. I used to struggle with them maybe 20 years ago. I used to get them quite often, and anyway, when it comes on, it's I usually get stuck in one position until it goes off, and it sometimes can take an hour or two. We'll see how it goes. If it gets worse, then I'll have to call it a day. I have had a pretty stonking headache all day today, so maybe that's an indication. In actual fact, let me just grab some painkillers, and that will slow it down. Vertigo, the vertigo. Well, I actually did have a bit of a rest this afternoon. I'm going to take a couple of ibuprofen. Let's see if that helps. I must be honest, when I used to get them quite often, these attacks, the doctor prescribed me something, but I don't know, I find that it just had to run its course. I didn't really find that the medication helped me very much. I would love to go to a pipe show in the US, but it's a long way to go for essentially something which is going to last a day or two. It's a long way to go and it's costly. But certainly if I had to go to America anyway, I would certainly try and look up some pipe clubs, some pipe shops, and if there were any pipe shows on at the time, maybe attend. I'm okay flying, but I just get very, very bored after a while. So, for instance, going to Spain now, it was about an hour and 3/4, and I was fine with that. And 2 or 3 hours I'm fine with. Even going to Israel sometimes is 5-6 hours, and that's just about okay. Going to America is another 2 or 3 hours. It's a stretch. I have been to America before, but I don't think I would do it just to go to. And I say just, it's not just. It's a fantastic thing to be part of, but it would be too much of a personal investment for me, physically, and so on, for me to go just for a pipe show. I say just in inverted commas. No, I didn't see a single pipe or cigar smoker. Apparently, hey Skip, how you doing? Apparently, Spain is the biggest consumer of Cuban cigars. I think it's the first market for Havana cigars. But I think that would have been in sort of mainstream Spain, such as Madrid, Barcelona, and some of the main towns. Up where I was in northern Spain, in the Cantabria region, most of the tobacco shops had some cigars, but it was really just a very small selection. I did get one cigar. In fact, it's the only bit of Tobaccana that I bought, and that was that Trinidad, which I showed in the Yabo on Friday. Not actually knowing what I bought, it was a vintage cigar, so I'm quite excited to smoke that at some point. No, I didn't, Sam. I realised afterwards that it was a bit of an immature, premature thing to say, but it's what struck me, and you know what I'm like. I'll just say what I feel, and I still feel that. I just thought it was an unkind, well, not unkind. It was just an unwise thing to say, given that I'd only been there for a few days. But it still strikes me as being a puzzle. I'm still puzzled by it. I was talking about it just today with my family. It just seems very odd to me because Santander, as I say, is a very small place. It's a very small region, and it's right on the north sort of tip of Spain, so it's not very central in terms of industry. And all of the shops that I went to were very quiet. In fact, it's a very sleepy area. It's what I liked about it. I found that charming. I absolutely, I wouldn't go so far as to say I fell in love with the place, but I just thought it was a fantastic place. And I just didn't get it. When I walked around that shopping centre, the high-end stuff they had on display, huge array of stuff, and there was nobody there. There was nobody there to buy the stuff. And I don't know if it's a falsely propped up economy, to really bring that area into the public sort of consciousness, and they're doing a good job. I mean, as I say in the video, that I've actually just finished editing the video of my visit there, so that'll be up soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe later tonight. It's a nice video. It's there's not much tobacco information in there. It's really about the break, about the holiday, and it just gives you a glimpse of Santander and the areas around it. If you've got half an hour spare, you may enjoy it. But I just really don't get it. You know, if it was Madrid, I'd understand it. But you know, this sort of top end of Spain, it's in the Cantabria region. Cantabria, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Which is the sort of area which is autonomous. You know, part of that whole sort of independence kind of thing with Spain, which I don't know much about. But in any event, it seems to me that there's, I don't know how that economy works, but there you go. Yeah, I saw that, Steph. I did send her a message. Hey, Scottish Gaucho. Yeah, hopefully I'll have the video up soon. There's one section of it which I just realised I might want to re-edit. On Thursday, on the final day, we were at the beach. Glorious weather, and there was some what do you call them? Hand gliders. They were windsurfers, rather. And some of it was fantastic to watch. So I did a bit of I did a few clips of these windsurfers. And I thought I'd only done one section in the video and taken off the rest because I thought it was a little bit too long. I tried to just do short clips of everything that we did. I was conscious of it not being too long. As it is, the video is half an hour long. And I'm just, instead of being maybe half a minute's worth, there's probably 3 or 4 minutes worth of the windsurfers. Different clips. But I don't know, I just didn't want to drag people's patience, you know. So I might just trim that bit again. The only problem is that my computer does take a fair amount of time to render the video, so it may not be up tonight if I re-edit it. Otherwise, I'll just upload it as it is, maybe. It is very nice, Sam, I must say. Very, very clean. Very, very clean. A good standard of living there. People seem to be, you know, really happy. I actually don't have any Ben Wade pipes. He's got 1 or 2 of them, Stephen, Cobbler of the Shire, and he likes his ones. But Ben Wade Pipes has gone through a very sort of interesting history. Lots of different carvers, well-known carvers, have carved under the banner of Ben Wade. You got Prevenhome pipes under Ben Wade. I'm not sure where they're made now, but they were originally from England. I'm not sure where they're made nowadays. What's that, Sam? No, I think they're Danish, actually. I mean, Prevenhome certainly Danish. Is it English make? I'm not sure. It's possible at some point they were made in England. I'm not sure. You'd have to look up in Pipedia. He obviously reckons you know what you're talking about, Sam. off topic, what is my favourite car? Well, I haven't driven that many to be able to say which would be my favourite, but in terms of the cars out there, or in terms of the cars that I've driven, well, I'll tell you about the terms in terms of the cars that I've had myself. Um, and I've had probably over the years, I don't know, maybe say 20 odd cars, maybe something like that. And my favourite car to drive ever, and I've had better cars than this, but my favourite car ever was a small little 5-door Honda Accord, 5-speed manual, and I loved that car. I absolutely adored that car. The gearbox on that, in fact, driving that gearbox is what kind of, when I was in my teens, my late teens, early 20s, I was kind of fantasizing about getting a Honda NSX, which is their supercar, which they made at some time. And just driving the 5-speed gearbox on my car made me want to get an NSX. The 5-speed shift on that was just so smooth, just unbelievable. I haven't got big aspirations in terms of driving a Rolls Royce or a Lamborghini, any of that kind of stuff. It's just not realistic for me. Um, but I've had a Ford Taurus, which was here, was short lived. It was a luxury kind of end, different to the Taurus in the States. It was a sort of a luxury, and um, it was the replacement for the Ford Granada, which was a car, which was a large car here in the UK, in Europe. And the Taurus, it had like a weird headlights at the time. So I had one of those for a while, and I had the top of the range one at the time, but it was troublesome and I got rid of it. I've had a Honda Legend. I've had a couple of Honda Accords. I've had some Vauxhalls, which I suppose is the same as GM in America, that kind of level. I've had some Volvos. I've had quite a few Volvos, in fact. Um, but probably the nicest car I've had was probably the Honda Legend. But the car I enjoyed driving the most was definitely that little Honda Accord. It was a small car. It was a 5-door hatchback, 5-speed manual shift, and 1.8 engine, 1.8 liter engine, which was um, quite big in those days. I had that car about probably about 25, 28 years ago, and I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that car. And actually, the car was written off at one stage. I was involved in an accident. Somebody rear-ended the car. I got paid out for the car and then bought it back off the insurance company because it wasn't written off in terms of safety. It was written off in terms of value. I bought it back, drove it for a while, and then sold it because it wasn't the same after the accident. I've never owned a Mercedes. I have driven one once, and I've driven a BMW 328, which was a very sort of, in my younger years, that was the car to have. Very, very fast, small car. And a friend of mine bought one, and I drove it, and I was so unimpressed with it. And maybe it was just that particular one. He was a bit of a hotshot guy. He was getting into the trading market, and the trading market, you know what they like. They live fast, they work fast, live fast. A relatively short career span. Half of them probably get burnt out. People on the stock market trading floor. And this particular guy, he wasn't really proper trading material. He just fancied it. He fancied himself as a trader. Anyway, he got a job in a trading company, and I think with his first paycheck, he bought himself this BMW 328. And I think one of his workmates sold it to him, and they probably saw him coming, because he's one of these guys who was living fast before he was actually there, and he had to have one straight away. And one of his workmates probably not an actual mate, because I think he sold him a dud. When I drove it, it was a rattly tin can to me. But that was that. That was a 328. The other BMW I had it for about literally 2 hours. I worked for a guy my first day in a new job. I think I was about 20 years old at the time, and the guy that I worked for was a real estate guy, and he had a car dealer that he bought his cars for his family and for people that worked for him. So he sent me over to the guy and he said, "Go and get yourself a car." So I went over there, and the guy had a BMW 320, I think it was, 2 litre. And my boss at the time, I didn't actually give it much thought, but he was actually a Holocaust survivor. He himself came from, he had been in the camps and stuff like that. And anyway, I picked out this BMW. I drove it back to work, and he basically flipped his lid and he said, "Take that thing straight back." He didn't want to know anything connected to Germany at the time. Perfectly understandable at the time. So that's what I had to do. So I had the BMW for about 2 or 3 hours. And instead of that BMW, I think I ended up with a Vauxhall Cavalier, which was not a particularly great car. But there you go. Right, should we light up this 1820 flake? Thanks, Godfrey. All the best. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I'm, my pipe collection is, the ones that I've stayed with are very nice. And as you know, my collection is it's pretty fluid. It's evolving all the time. Actually, the VW Bug, Jimmy, I think the current version, I think they did a great job on it. I love how they've retained the original Bug look, but with a modern sort of implementation. I haven't really, Daniel. I've only tried the Navy rolls and whatever I tried in the samples that they gave out on the day at the Pipe Club a few months back. I think the only one I bought is the Navy rolls. And that tin, I think I might have one coin left in there. Actually, somebody did send me a message on one of my videos for a recommendation for a vapor to start with, and I should have mentioned that one. Actually, I might go back to that. All right, excuse me. Let's try this out. So I've only had that one bowl of this 1820 flake. which I had in Santander. And as long as my head stays reasonably level, I'll carry on smoking this. The Elizabethan copy. I haven't. I tried it on the day, if I remember correctly, but I haven't really. I haven't bought it. As I say, the only one I bought is the Rolls, which was actually very nice. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. If you can, I don't know if you can get them in America yet. Can you? Have any of you seen the Sheraton blends in America? Where is my temper? There it is. Yeah, this really is Penzance, I've got to tell you that. Hi, Bulldog. I think Peterson blends are going to be back on the market. I don't think there's going to be a huge gap. Boris? It's been bought out. And as far as from what I've heard, its production will continue. The beauty of this 1820 flake, and the same applies to Penzance, is the blending. The flavor that's produced as a result of the blending of the Virginias, Latakia, and whatever Balkan sort of tobaccos they've got in there, Orientals. The sweetness, the mustiness that they produce as a result of the blending, that's where it's at. It's not a sort of punch in your face Latakia. It's a sweet sour Latakia, but it's not too sour. So for instance, the Royal Jersey Latakia, I find that too sour, too sort of like sour cream. It's like milk that's gone off. And I actually don't know how they produce that flavor, that sourness. I just don't get how it's produced through the production of Latakia, the smoking of the tobacco. I don't know why it would produce that sort of sour cream kind of flavor, but they somehow do. Some sort of, I don't know how you pronounce your name. My top 5 tobaccos at the moment. That's a good question. and I applaud your addition of the words "at the moment," because a lot of pipe smokers will tell you that that keeps changing. There are those, of course, that have their tobaccos and that's what they've smoked all their lives. But for a lot of us, I think it moves around through the seasons and when we discover new tobaccos. I think this 1820 flake will become one of my regular smokes because it's aromatic enough not to be even Northwoods, which has been my #1 Latakia blend for a long time. I don't have a feeling for it at the moment. And this 1820 kind of it's Latakia, and it definitely strengthens up as you get down the bowl. But it's aromatic enough. I mean aromatic with a small a. That it makes it not too in your face with the Latakia. It's balanced. It's a very well balanced blend. So I think this will make it into my regular rotation. The tobacco that I'm smoking the most at the moment is probably Erin Moore Mixture. That's probably my #1 at the moment. And everything else just kind of falls in behind that. Whatever the mood takes me, it'll be just a Virginia or a Vapor. Earlier on I had some Tilbury, it really I just sort of go through the tobaccos that I've got and I just pick out any particular blend. But as I say, the one that I'm smoking the most is Erin Moore Mixture at the moment. I don't know, John. I've been asking that question myself. I did ask the guy at Black Swan the other day. I've been emailing him backwards and forwards, and I asked him that very question, whether it's going to be as rare as Penzance, or is it going to be a regular tobacco here in the UK? And he doesn't know the answer to that yet, but I guess we'll find that soon enough because people are selling out of it already here. Obviously just being released and people saying good things about it, so there's a bit of a hype initially, and once that settles back, we'll see. You know, there's people out there. You see, hype does have an effect on the market, because I've had already countless emails from people in the States asking me to buy the 1820 flake, and some people asking for big quantities, you know, the big gold bags. And the gold bags are not 8-ounce bags. The gold bags here are half a kilo. Well, the one I'm smoking, Sam, is the mixture. I smoke the flake as well, but my preference is the mixture at the moment, which is unusual for me because I usually prefer the flakes when it comes to other tobaccos. Daniel, they're different genres of tobacco, so I wouldn't really put them together and make a comparison. The Tilbury is a Virginia, and Penzance is a Balkan. Sam, the mixture, to my taste, is a little bit more aromatic, and the flake is a little bit more, to me, it was a little bit more of a purer tobacco with less prominence of the aromatics. Whereas previously, before I tried it, what I'd read was that the flake was stronger and punchier and more nicotine, but I didn't find that actually. I found it, well, maybe on the nicotine side, yes, I don't know, that I couldn't comment on, but I just enjoyed the mixture overall better. I enjoy the current stuff compared to the vintage stuff. So you can imagine, as you saw, I've opened recently that tin of tobacco, that tin of Erin Moore mixture from maybe a 20-year-old tin, and I found that to be a bit like the current flake version. In other words, it was much more of a purer tobacco with less prominence of the aromatics, but that could be because of the age, and aromatics don't age well. The aromatics wear off. I do have a tin of the flake going back to the 70s, which I haven't opened yet. So this is a tin of the original Murray's, made in Ireland, Erin Moore, and this is going to be from the 70s, that kind of period, and I've got no idea what this will be like because given the age, it might have lost a lot of the flavour. Star of the East is a tobacco which a lot of people compare to Penzance. I didn't see it myself. Obviously it's comparable in that it's a Latakia blend, but and it will have similarities, but to me the only thing which has got anywhere near Penzance is this 1820, and it is Penzance. Now, for a full Virginia, Jimmy, is a sweet, fruity affair. I do like that tobacco. I wouldn't call it a grassy hay flavour, no. It's a more of a deeper, fruitier, like a stone fruit kind of flavour, and it's sweet. I would imagine there's some added sweetener to that tobacco. The Erin Moore mixture compared to the flake, Boris, I think it's the same flavouring. It's the same fruity sort of, some people compare it to juicy fruit chewing gum. To me, originally when I started smoking it, I got a pineapple-y kind of flavour. But whatever it is, however you describe it, that fruity flavour is the same in both, but it's just implemented differently. And I find that the flavour to be more present in the mixture compared to the flake. Hi Pipes. The 1820 is a new release by Germain's for the UK market, and it's a UK version of Penzance. No, I haven't tried that, Daniel. I mean, the 1820 that I'm smoking at the moment, which in this Boswell, which I converted to 9mm, it's probably not as old, but obviously it's a new blend, so it's, I think it will improve somewhat with age. When I first did the first impressions of this tobacco, I said at the time it was Penzance, but a lighter version. But then when I got through the bowl, I added a postscript to the video to say that in actual fact it does get much richer as you get down the bowl. There's possibly a very slight difference between this and Penzance. Penzance might still be a bit of a fuller experience, but I think with a bit of time this one will probably be quite a bit better. Well, it's not the nicotine for me, I must say. Although by now, given the amount that I smoke, maybe it is. But I certainly didn't get into smoking a pipe for the nicotine. I haven't been smoking HH much lately. I mean, the mature Virginia, the HH mature Virginia is obviously no more, and I do smoke that from time to time as well. I'm coming to the end of my old tin that I've got, and I have to start going into the pouches that I got from Mike Blocker. Hey Eric. No, I haven't sent your pipe off yet. That could be Anyway, the Star of the East, I've had one tin, so I don't know, I haven't had it with age or anything like that. What did you get the pound in of? Remind me, Sam. Was it of the 515? Don't remember which tobacco you said. Was that the Sutliff RC1515? Or was it the HH? I don't remember what you said. Pure Virginia Flake, right, cool. We'll try and put some of that away to age. See how that goes. Whenever I got in a decent amount of a tobacco, I always, I mean, I haven't been smoking that long, but I always tended to split it into 2 or 3 jars and smoke them at different ages, just to see the difference that the age has on it. You reckon you'd go through that pound in a season, Sam? That's pretty heavy going. Yes, Daniel, it was a very generous box of tobacco that was sent to me, completely out of the blue. Lots of Erin Moore goodness in there. And he also sent me a tin of Bijou, which I haven't tried. Just by the way, in case anybody watches this and has been trying to contact me via any of the social media platforms, at the moment I've lost my other phone. I'm currently recording this on my personal phone, and I usually do the social media stuff on my work phone. And at the moment I don't know where that is, so you may not get a response from me if you've contacted me via social media. Well, Daniel, one of the videos we did for Mike at Briar Blues' experiments was exactly that. He sent us, I think that was the last experiment that we did for him, is he asked us to smoke a tobacco indoors and outdoors and see if there were any differences. But for me, generally speaking, the tobaccos that I smoke regularly, when I'm walking, smoking, I don't tend to enjoy it as much as when I'm either driving or sitting in my office. Hi Maui, how are you doing? I find that when I'm walking, for some reason I don't enjoy it as much. I don't enjoy pipe smoking as much, and for some people that's their favourite pipe smoke, or for some people that's their only pipe smoke because they don't smoke indoors. But I'm not sure why, but I don't enjoy it so much walking. Is that a new territory for you, Sam? You'll get used to it, Sam. Don't worry. Either that or you'll revert to your old ways. Yes, Daniel, it definitely will. Thank you, Maui. Really fantastic of you. Thank you. Daniel, if you smoke outside, the wind will definitely make your pipe burn harder, faster, and hotter. So you do need to be careful with that. Essentially, the way your pipe combusts, when you draw air through it, you oxygenate the cherry on the tobacco. When you're outside, you're doing that by drawing on the pipe and from the wind outside, so it's almost like it's continuously being puffed. So it's quite easy to overheat your pipe when you're outdoors, and if you're in a windy environment, you have to be quite careful because it can heat up really quickly. You'll often find when you're outside that you don't need to keep relighting because it's continuously being oxygenated. Yeah, a wind cap is an idea. You can get some pipes which have got an extended front bit of the bowl. Trying to see if I've got a wind cap here to hand. I think they're in the car, unless I've got one in my pouch. But it's basically a little metal disc which is spring loaded, and it fits on the inside of your bowl, and it just prevents the wind from overheating your pipe. It does have holes in there, yeah. But you've got to be able to draw through it. It's not so much about letting smoke out, it's about drawing air through it so you can oxygenate your tobacco. I think Hector is boycotting my channel because of issues he's had with some of my subscribers. There was a video I did a while back, and there was quite a heated discussion in the comment section of the video. And he's certainly got a couple of people who he's had some altercations with. Cheers, Chad. And the same happened with Northern Bohemian. He also has said that he's had to unsubscribe from my channel for that same reason. I must be honest, I do understand people that they don't want to get into all of that stuff, but you know, it's just a bit of a debate, you know, a bit of discourse, exactly, a bit of brisk discourse, as long as it doesn't get personal. And I think that yeah, no, I wasn't referring to you, Sam, in particular, but I know that look, when people have, you know, I think I said it in a video the following day, you know, having a debate, there's nothing wrong with having a debate. And what I've always said to people is, if you want to attack the other person's argument, by all means go ahead and do that, but attack the argument, not the person. A person's entitled to hold a different position to you without you having to attack him. and that's really, or her, and that's really the basis of it. 4 or 5 per pipe is absolutely fine. I don't know how long you've been smoking for, Daniel, but when I first started smoking a pipe, I probably lit my pipe many more times than that, and it took me, I would say, between 4 and 6 months to get to have a reasonable experience when it comes to lighting and relighting. And you'll find your way through in terms of how you prepare your tobacco, how you load your bowl, how much time you air it out, dry it out beforehand. Yeah, you're doing fine. You're doing absolutely fine over 3 months. Sounds like you're doing very well. The trip was amazing. Maui, had a great time. We were a little bit weary because the weather was supposed to be really poor. The climate in Santander is very similar to the UK. So according to the weather app on the iPhone before we went, it was supposed to be really grey, cloudy and rainy. And when we arrived, that's exactly what we got. So we were really quite apprehensive about the whole thing. My wife just wanted to say, let's go down to Madrid, which really wasn't in the plan. But the weather improved that very day. And Wednesday and Thursday were fantastic, beautiful sunshine, and we had a great time. Hi, Michael. Hi, Kevin. So we had a great time. I've finished editing the video, so I'm going to upload that. And there was just one hiccup in I felt towards the end. There's one bit of windsurfing that I did the recording of, which I felt might be a little bit long, but I might just leave it in. Otherwise, I don't know when I'll do it again. Not sure I agree with you on that one, Sam. People should be able to make an argument without attacking somebody and then apologizing. And if you attack the argument and not the person, then there's nothing to apologize for. You made your argument, and that's fine. I always find that if somebody feels the need to attack somebody personally, then you've lost the argument, because you've got nothing else other than to attack the person. Absolutely, Josh. Spot on. See, I didn't need an apology, Sam. It wasn't for me. Anyway, that's bygones, hopefully, and let them remain bygones. Hey, Andy. Right, well done with my tamper again. There it is. Oh, what did you get, Maui? Another bang, wow. Generally speaking, I think the cigar does linger more. I think the smoke particles are a lot bigger in cigar smoke, and I think they adhere more to surfaces than pipe tobacco. And if I'm indoors also, cigar lingers on my clothes much more than pipe tobacco. What cigars did you smoke, Daniel? I have nubbed a cigar like that. I smoke the end of a cigar in a pipe. But I must be honest, I don't do it very often. Mm. I think I do have one of those in my non-Cuban tapador. But I'm not a big Rocky Patel fan, I must be honest. If I had to choose a non-Cuban cigar at the moment, I would say it would either be an Undercrown Maduro, which has been aged for a couple of years, or a Siri V Melanio, Oliva Siri V Melanio. Padron, yeah. I had smoked some of the 80th anniversary Padrons, and I've spoken about one particular one quite a few times on my channel. I had one, a Churchill, a monster cigar. It took me 3 sessions to smoke it, and I got nicotined big time each time. The H. Upmann Connoisseur #1 is probably my favourite cigar, go-to cigar. Cheers, Maui. Hi, happy smoking. This is a Peterson. This is the pipe I used in the slow smoke competition in the Pipe Club of London recently, and it served me very well. And it's a Peterson. I don't usually get on with Petersons. Night, Boris. The Saranov 16. What's the significance of that name? Hi, Lee. My favorite wrapper on a cigar is a Cuban one. I'm sorry to say, for all you Americans. Which is not a classification such as Maduro, Connecticut, Oscuro, Corojo, any of that kind of stuff. It's just a Cuban leaf. Well, I think I've got 3 weddings coming up in the month of June. Oh, that's nice. Very nice, Saranov. It's almost got a Russian twang to it. Saranov. I'm not a big fan of non-Cuban cigars. As I say, the ones that I do smoke are actually Arturo Fuente I quite like as well. Not the Opus X. I haven't really gotten the whole Opus X thing. The ones that I've smoked I haven't particularly enjoyed. But that comes from somebody who likes Cuban cigars as a rule. So that's already, I'm at a predisposition to not like a non-Cuban cigar. But I did go through a patch when I first started smoking cigars. I got so frustrated with the plugged Cuban cigars and the really tight ones that I stopped smoking them, and I was smoking non-Cubans, and I was amazed at how consistently well rolled they were, and still are. But in terms of my favorite non-Cubans, the Undercrown series I think is a fantastic series of cigars, which was born out of the Liga Privada range. So the Undercrown Maduro, the Undercrown Shade, and the Undercrown Sungrown, all of them lovely cigars. I'm very, very impressed with them. The Oliva Serie V Bellicoso is another cigar which actually I'm not smoking that much anymore. It's okay, but I prefer the Melanio. I think that if I had to choose, a while back I did a video about it and I put the two at the top, the Undercrown and the Serie V, but now I think the Serie V would go off that list and it would be replaced by the Melanio. I don't think I've smoked Ashton cigars, so I can't answer you on that one. I think I have smoked San Cristobal, and there may well be a video way back on my channel. I think it's the one with the, has it got maybe some parrots or something on the band? It's got pictures of birds on the band. So I think there is a video on my channel somewhere. If I remember correctly, it was a Connecticut wrapper, and I think it was quite nice, quite mild, but I don't recall. Scarlet Macaw. A pipe versus cigar video. I have actually done that. Not smoking a pipe and a video and a cigar at the same time. Just there is no point on which to rest a video. But just in terms of my preference, I have in the past done quite a lengthy chat about that. But as I've said many times, you know, sometimes after a hard day's work, it's just the cigar which hits the spot. And a pipe will never fill that void. Sometimes it's really just the cigar that will do it. And it's actually quite disappointing sometimes when you smoke a cigar and it just isn't a particularly good cigar. It's disappointing because cigars by definition are more expensive than a bowl of tobacco, pipe tobacco. And if it doesn't really work out, it's kind of a shame. I don't know, Daniel. It's at the moment, certainly since I've gone over to 9mm, which is like a year and a half now, I've certainly been smoking more pipes than cigars. Before that, I was smoking more cigars than pipes, and then before that, when I first started, I was smoking more pipes than cigars. So it's gone kind of in roundabouts, but I'm smoking more pipes than cigars at the moment, that's for sure. That Hoyo was fantastic. That Hoyo de Monterrey double Corona was just out of the park. I mean, if you watch that video from beginning to end, I'm conscious of the fact that some people will just watch sort of clips of each video. you know, a few seconds here, a few seconds there. But that particular video, and I don't practice my videos, I don't have notes. I used to sort of, when I first started doing videos, you know, have some notes in front of me, but nowadays it's all sort of just off the cuff. But that video really turned out to be a bit of a journey of a cigar. Not only was it probably one of the best cigars I've ever had, but it was also the evolution of the cigar. It was one of those where the planets lined up for me. As I say, probably the best cigar I've ever had. I don't have a Vaughan pipe. I keep saying that I should get one, but I don't have a Vaughan pipe, so I can't answer you on that. Josh, I think you make a good point, but I think that's just the way it happens to be, because cigars, especially, I know they're big in the golfing circuit in America, and a cigar is just easier. You know, if you're out with friends and you're going to a bar or you go to a cigar lounge, you pick up a cigar, light it, and put it down when you're done. A pipe is a different matter. You've got to own a pipe. You've got to own all the paraphernalia that goes with it, the pipe cleaners, the lighter, the tamper. You know, you can't just go into a shop. I mean, you can, but it's not the same. If you go into a shop without anything in your pocket, you buy a pipe, you buy a tamper, you buy some tobacco, you're not going to enjoy it, because it's a new pipe, it's a new tobacco, it's a different ball game. Pipes is something which if you're a pipe smoker, you've got all of that with you, and you'll smoke it a lot of the time, you know, without people with you. Cigars, on the other hand, people often smoke them for celebratory reasons. It's not, you know, people are, a big percentage of cigar smokers are not cigar smokers per se, but they enjoy a good cigar from time to time, whether it be in a meeting with, you know, a lunch meeting, or a celebration, a wedding, or something like that. And it's far easier to partake of a cigar than it is of a pipe. Pipe, you have to know how to smoke as well. You need practice. A cigar, you just got to light it and puff it, and you could look like you know what you're doing, even if you don't. You just got to puff it. I did have this discussion, Daniel, with somebody. I went to have a Havana, which is AJ Patel. Some of you may have come across his videos. He often does a video at the Havana Festival in Cuba. So he's got a shop in just in the outskirts of London, which is the only LCDH shop in the UK. And I think JJ Foxes are becoming an LCDH if they haven't already. But anyway, I visited them maybe a year or so ago, and AJ's wife was there, and we were having a chat about that. Cigars, a pipe you can relight, whereas a cigar, if it goes out, it goes nasty. I actually don't agree with that at all. I disagreed with her on that point, but I don't think she agreed with me. But I don't think she's a huge cigar smoker. I mean, she probably does smoke a cigar, but I don't think she's a major cigar smoker, whereas her husband is. But in any event, I'm sure she knows her stuff. But I had a cigar the other day. I can't remember what it was now. And I actually put it down and came back to it over 24 hours later. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've done that many times. In actual fact, I find the opposite to be true a lot of the time. If I come back to a pipe a few hours later, I'll often find that the pipe is very ashy, and the flavour is gone. Whereas a cigar, you light it, you purge it. That's obviously very important. You have to purge it, or you could even cut the top off, cut the cherry off, and relight, and then purge. And I actually find the opposite is true. I think a lot of cigars benefit from actually being, forget about relighting, any cigar you take out of your humidor, leave it out for a day on your desk, and then smoke it. Often that will improve the cigar as well. It does depend on the humidity of your humidor. Sometimes, you know, when you have your humidor at 70, you don't want to smoke it at 70 necessarily. I mean, most people do. I don't think there's an issue. But sometimes for some people 70 is a little bit too humid, and in fact when people are aging cigars for longer periods, you really want to be at around 67, something like that. 65 even sometimes people do it at. But especially with Cuban cigars, if they're a bit moist, they're already sometimes quite tightly rolled. So if you let it dry out for a day, it allows the moisture to evaporate a bit, leaving some more room in the cigar, and it may well smoke better if it's left out for a bit. But you have to experiment. You know, it really depends on the humidity of your cigars. .65 is quite low. It's quite dry for cigars that you're smoking there and then. For long-term aging, yes. But again, there's no hard and fast rule. If that works for you, that's great. But I hear what you're saying there, Mike. Yeah, I mean, removing the ash, as I said, you can either trim it, which I don't really bother with. I have done that sometimes, but I usually just ash it, and I'm quite vigorously knock off the ash, relight it, and purge. And then it usually refreshes the cigar, and it's fine. I guess it also depends on how you smoke. Your cigars. If you're a really sort of quick puffer and deep puffer, and you're a wet smoker, then you come back to it could be quite rank, I guess. I think I have had Padron Series 1926, but I'm not sure. I don't recall. I generally half fill my pipe to start with. I don't fill my pipes to the top. Even though at the beginning it may look like it's full, but in actual fact I use a method of loading my pipe, which is not traditional. I've learnt since that there is a name for it, for the way it's filled. I forget the name. I think it's a German name. I can't remember the name, but the way I fill a pipe is, so I'll give you an example. So this is that 1820 flake. What I do is I round it up, and I'll just sort of get it into as near a sort of a mound as possible, and I'll grab it all and shove it all in one go, like that, as much of it as I can in one go, and then I let go. And that, if your humidity of your tobacco is, for me anyway, but the way I like it is slightly humid, so that it springs back and expands when you let go. So what I end up with is I'll have about half a bowl of tobacco at the top of my bowl, with airspace at the bottom. The Frank method. Okay, thank you, Sri. So what you end up is with half a bowl of tobacco up there. There'll be obviously some bits which have fallen down, but essentially airspace. If I tap that down, it'll go to half a bowl. So I'll show you. There, you see, it's gone even beyond half. That's how I do it. I don't tamp it down, and I have it just at the top. And what that does is allow you to have plenty of air space underneath for the it helps the combustion, and also when you're tamping you're not compressing the tobacco right into the heel of your pipe, and that eventually can start to clog up the air hole, and it can just make it harder to draw. And it's the method which works for me. It's something which I've sort of developed over time, and that's what I use, generally speaking. Occasionally I'll do a traditional load, but generally speaking that's the way I load my pipe. Hey Cookout, how you doing? Yeah, Daniel, that's the traditional method, and that's fine. If it works for you, then that's what you should do. Everybody does what works for them. But I don't, to answer your original question, I don't usually go right down to the heel, because obviously once you get towards the end of the bowl, the tobacco is right at the bottom, as this particular bowl is now, the 1820 flake I'm smoking. It depends also on the tobacco. You know, really good quality tobacco, when I'm smoking it and enjoying it, I don't even realize that I've come to the end of the bowl. A tobacco which I'm not enjoying so much, or maybe I've left it you know, too humid or something like that, I'll struggle to get to the bottom, and I'll usually tip it out, because if it's not working, it's not working. I'd rather just get to the next bowl than something that I'm enjoying. But you can really see a difference in quality sometimes. You know, sometimes I find that with also the pipe makes a big difference as well, and the shape of the bowl, and the shape of the chamber makes a big difference as well. I find that, for instance, the Boswell pipes, the bit that he uses is almost like a V shape, so the chamber is almost like that. It's almost like a V shape, so it comes to quite a point. I don't know if you can see that here. I don't know if you can see that, but that almost comes to a point there. It's really, you can see the angle anyway. And that really aids the combustion as well. It really does. And oftentimes I'll find that I've just burnt it right down, and there's literally a couple of strands of tobacco left when I'm finished. Yes, that is a tamper. This was made by, and I forget, this was made either by Danny Shaw or Briarblade, Ladon. Purging a cigar is blowing through the cigar, not drawing in, but blowing through. So generally speaking, it's now become like second nature to me. And when I smoke a cigar, every half a dozen draws, I will blow through the cigar, and what that does is it burns up the carbon the tar and carbon that you've been drawing into the cigar, and it just gets rid of those nasty flavors. And that should become a standard practice for cigar smokers, and it will certainly enhance the longevity of your cigar. Thicker walls, thin walls, not necessarily. They might be easier to hold. A thicker wall, depending on how you smoke. If your pipe gets hot, and then a thin wall pipe, it's going to get really hot and going to be hard to hold. Hey Art, how you doing? I once had a Dunhill, a really old Dunhill, which I bought from the Danish pipe shop, and the walls were like 3 mil thick. It was wafer thin, but it smoked very, very well. It dissipated the heat very well. That pipe was probably from the 1920s. It got really hot, but it smoked very, very well. How's life been treating you, Art? Long time no speak. Hope you're well. Did the pipe arrive? Oh yeah, it did. You said, I think you showed it, didn't you? Or you sent me a message or something. Well, as I mentioned earlier on, if anybody's been trying to contact me on any of the social media platforms, I've lost my phone. So for now, I don't have any means. I suppose I can go online and look at my IG or Facebook online, but I haven't done it yet. I'm not sure if I've got Find My iPhone set up, but I'm going to try that soon as well. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to wish you all a good night. My vertigo hasn't cleared up. It's okay. If I don't move around too much, it's okay. But it's getting late. It's gone 2 o'clock in the morning, and I better get to bed. So thank you all for watching and for joining. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Cookout. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Tree. Thank you, Lutrasaurus. And Jimmy. And Pipes, etc. Mike at Briar Blues. And the Saranov 16. Sam. And everybody else. Lee Wilson. Maui. Thank you very much for joining, everybody. I wish you a wonderful weekend. And I will probably just leave my Santander video as it is, and I will upload. So hopefully you'll still see that in tonight.